Hey there, and welcome back to the Morning Brew where we start our day inspired. So, I have to tell you a story. I went to Spain, I came back. I am about a month away from my book being published. I was a day away from the deadline to submit any edits that I wanted before it was final and ready for publishing. And I decided to change the last chapter of the book. I was not happy with a story I was telling. It was not my story. It was a story I came up with to best represent the last persona in your career squad. And I wasn't happy with it. So I went to my basement and I found this, I call it my treasure box, but it's really a box where in my teens and early 20s, I would treasure things that were special to me, that meant something to me. And I was looking for something very specific, a letter in particular, for my book. And then I came across this little notebook that I used to have in my teens and early 20s where I would write down quotes that would inspire me. And it made me smile because that is exactly what I'm doing right now here on the podcast many years later. Anyways, long story short, I opened this little notebook. The pages were already kind of yellow. I open it. I'm not that old, okay? I'm not that old, just want to say. But I open it, and the first quote I came through was, "Your comfort zone is your most expensive habit." And I remember when I first read that quote, when I put it on that notebook, because I had some notes there, because I used to reflect and journal on the quotes. When I first read it, I thought, that's an interesting way to think about comfort. Because we usually associate comfort with something positive. Comfort feels safe, familiar, it feels predictable. And there's nothing wrong with comfort until it quietly starts costing you the life you actually want. The truth is, comfort rarely charges you up front. It sends the bill later. The tricky thing about your comfort zone is that it doesn't feel dangerous. In fact, it feels reasonable. You tell yourself things like, I'll apply to the role next year, or I'll start exercising when life slows down, or I'll launch that business when I feel more confident, or I'll have that conversation when the timing is better. None of those decisions seem dramatic. They feel sensible. But over time, they add up. One day becomes 1 month becomes 1 year, and before you know it, you've spent years waiting for the perfect moment. Meanwhile, your dreams have been waiting for you. One thing I've learned is that every meaningful chapter of my life started with discomfort. Moving to another country, taking on leadership roles that stretch me, starting this podcast, writing my book, none of those decisions felt comfortable. In fact, I remember questioning almost every one of them. Am I ready? What if I fail? What if people don't like it? Those thoughts don't disappear before I took the first step. I simply decided they weren't going to make the decision for me because growth and comfort rarely live in the same place. Here's what I find fascinating. Sometimes comfort doesn't look like sitting on the couch. Sometimes it looks like staying in a job that you've outgrown because it's familiar, or keeping the same routine because it's predictable, or avoiding a difficult conversation because you don't want conflict. Saying yes when you really want to say no. Playing small because people expect that version of you. Comfort often disguises itself as convenience, as certainty, as I'll do it later. But later has a funny way of never arriving. The biggest cost of staying comfortable isn't the opportunity that you miss, is the person that you never become. Think about that. Every time you choose comfort over courage, you don't just delay a goal, you delay your own growth. You delay discovering what you're capable of. You delay building confidence. Because confidence doesn't come before the action, it comes because of the action. Every courageous step leaves evidence. Evidence that says, I can do hard things. And that evidence changes how you see yourself. Now, I don't think this quote is telling us to turn our lives upside down. You don't have to quit your job tomorrow, move across the world, or make some dramatic decision. Sometimes stepping outside your comfort zone looks much smaller, like speaking up in a meeting, or introducing yourself to someone new, or trying a fitness class, or setting a boundary, or starting the first page instead of worrying about the whole book. Growth isn't built through one giant leap. It's built through repeated moments of choosing courage over comfort. This is a question that I've been asking myself since I found that quote, and I know this to be true because it's a question that it's on repeat all the time. Every time I do a mid-year review or my new year planning or my spring cleaning or whatever I'm doing, I'm asking, am I comfortable? But what is my comfort costing me? Because every comfort zone has a price. Maybe it's a promotion you never applied for, or the friendship that you never invested in, or the dream that you never pursued, or the healthier version of yourself that's waiting on the other side of one difficult decision. The cost isn't always immediate, but eventually we pay for that comfort. As I've gotten older, I've realized something. The moments I'm most proud of weren't the ones where I felt completely ready. They were the moments where I felt uncertain and moved anyway. Every meaningful opportunity in my life required me to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. Not forever, just long enough to take the next step. And every single time, I discovered that the fear I imagined was much bigger than the reality that I experienced. So let me leave you with one question over today's coffee. Where has comfort quietly become a habit? Is it in your career, your health, your relationships, your finances, your personal growth? Then I want you to ask yourself one more question. What is one small act of courage that I can choose, you can choose this week? Not next month, not when life calms down, this week. Because that's how change begins. Comfort isn't the enemy. We all need places where we feel safe. But don't confuse feeling comfortable with feeling fulfilled. The life you want will almost always ask something of you. A little courage, a little uncertainty, a willingness to take the first step before you have every answer. Your comfort zone is only expensive if you stay there too long. So today, choose one thing that stretches you, one conversation, one decision, one action you've been postponing. Because the future version of you isn't built by staying where you are. It's built by having the courage to take one step beyond what's familiar. Now let's finish our coffee. Let's step outside of our comfort zones and let's see what becomes possible. I'll see you next week.